Before I was born, my parents decided to move to the coast and open their own little seaside hotel. The first thing to do when they moved in was to clean all the rooms, so they took half each to speed things up. My mom told me this story when I was little. She was in room number 8, doing some vacuuming when the whole carpet started rippling. When I was little, I didn't think this sounded scary at all, as I just thought that maybe the carpet had got caught on the vacuum or something, and so I never really thought about it again. Fast forward to about a month ago. I remembered this old story and made fun of my mom a bit for thinking it was creepy when it was obviously explainable. She looked confused and told me I must have not understood her when I was little. Apparently what had actually happened was that the entire carpet had rippled in a constant fluid wave type motion, and all the furniture and herself had been lifted up and down off of the floor for about 10 seconds. She then screamed bloody murder at my dad down the hallway and told him they were selling the place before it had even opened. He managed to convince her otherwise, but she never went back in that room. It scares more because my mom doesn't believe in the supernatural or anything like that, and doesn't have any other creepy stories at all. Just this one that she doesn't like to talk about often. I worked at a hotel for about a year. It was usually pretty good. Some people would stay at the hotel for weeks or a month at a time for business reasons. But there was this one old lady that had been there even before I started working, that just stayed in her room all day, occasionally leaving to go down the hill and pick berries or something along the street. Maybe get food or other supplies. Ick. She really wasn't a problem other than not letting people into her room. About January of this year, she started acting weird, like yelling at people walking by her room, calling down to the front desk and being angry about things that had never happened. This goes on for about a week, and then she just goes off the deep end. She starts standing outside of her room, yelling at people that entered her sight. No matter how far away they were, she would call down to the front desk, but now she would say eerily creepy things, like, "You shouldn't have done that. You'll be sorry for that. I can find you." And then she'd hang up. Eventually, after about 2 weeks, we forcibly ejected her after her credit card declined. She threw a fit and had to be removed off the premises by her son. Let me tell you, going into that room was like entering hell. Stains all over the carpet. Blood and feces spread across the walls in the bathroom. Blood on the mattresses. Empty cans everywhere. Jarred foods that stank to high heaven. Boxes sealed shut, some with black ooze dripping out of them. Light bulbs stacked in the corner, all in perfect condition, but not used in the lights. It was horrible. Found out she went off the deep end because she had been denied her pills for some kind of mental thing. I work front desk. About an hour after checking a guest in, she came back downstairs, asking to be moved. She happened to be in a room that connected to another room. After getting settled in, she said she started to hear noises coming from the other room, which weren't a concern until the other people tried to open her connecting door from their side. The gap between her door and the door frame was just wide enough to see just a sliver into the other room. So when she went over to tell the other person to stop, curiosity got the best of her, and she peeked through and saw a man staring at her from the other side. She told him to cut it out, and he just stood there at the door, trying the handle every once in a while, not wanted to deal with it anymore. She came down and asked to be moved away from this creepy dude. Understandable. So I checked the computer and noticed that there is no guest registered in that room. So either someone at the desk goofed and didn't complete the check-in, or someone is in the hotel that shouldn't be. No one answered when I called the room. so I sent security up. He called from the room saying that no one was in there. Our engineer happened to be at the front desk when I was discussing all this with another agent, and he mentioned that he had to go into that room to fix something. Mystery solved. He was in there fixing the door, making a racket, and spooking this poor woman. Except he was never able to get into the room because the door lock wasn't working, even with his master key card. No idea why it started working again for security. Over the course of the night, nothing else happened, and no mystery man was ever found. The guest was a regular, so I didn't think she was screwing with us, although I'm sure she could have just seen something in the shadows or whatever. Still, pretty creepy at the time. A man went to a hotel and walked up to the front desk to check in. The woman at the desk gave him his key and told him that on the way to his room, there was a door with no number. That was a door with no number that was locked, and no one was allowed in there. She explained that it was a storeroom and that it was out of bounds. She reminded him of this several times before allowing him upstairs. So he followed the instructions of the woman at the front desk, going straight to his room and going to bed. However, the insistence of the woman had piqued his curiosity, so the next night he walked down the hall to the door and tried the handle. Sure enough, it was locked. He bent down and looked through the wide keyhole. Cold air passed through it, chilling his eye. What he saw was a hotel bedroom, like his, and in the corner was a woman whose skin was incredibly pale. She was leaning her head against the wall, facing away from the door. Facing away from the door, he stared in confusion for a while. Was this a celebrity? The owner's daughter? He almost knocked on the door, out of curiosity, but decided not to. As he was still looking, the woman turned sharply, and he jumped back from the door, hoping she would not suspect he had been spying on her. He crept away from the door and walked back to his room. The next day, he returned to the door and looked through the wide keyhole. This time, all he had made the woman so uncomfortable, and hoped she had not made a complaint with the woman on the front desk. At this point, he decided to consult her for more information. She sighed and said, "Did you look through the keyhole?" The man told her that he had, and she said, "Well, I might as well tell you the story of what happened in that room. A long time ago, a man murdered his wife in there, and we find that even now, whoever stays there gets very uncomfortable. But these people were not ordinary. They were white all over, except for their eyes, which were red.